The 49ers have a new toy in Keion White. How will Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan use him now that he's in the building? Plus, what did John Lynch say on KNBR? The prospect of Brock Purdy actually starting a game? Could it happen? We'll talk about it next. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. That is Johnny Dowell from the Johnny Dowell Football Academy. This is the Demonetization Station. It is the show where we dive into the film to break down something with the 49ers, and then the NFL comes and takes all of our money. But nonetheless, it is a labor of love, and we are here for you. Good afternoon, Johnny.
Oh, good afternoon to you. You know, I'm feeling a lot better than I did Monday about the team. I was feeling some sort of way on Monday.
Yeah, that was a rough one to get through. Just to rewatch the film was just depressing. But we got a new 49er since then, two new 49ers technically in Keon White and our old friend Cleveland Farrell. So we'll talk about them. But before we get to any of that, John Lynch was on KNBR this morning, as he always is. He said a couple of interesting things, Johnny. First up, they asked who the starting quarterback was going to be, and he seemed to leave some doubt. Listen to John Lynch.
A lot of this at this point is going to be on trusting Brock and where he's at, and he continues to feel better. He continues to ramp up what he's doing out on the field, and that was the case yesterday. And we'll see by the end of this week. We'll all make a good decision on who that guy's going to be.
So that, I mean, maybe he's just playing games. Do you doubt that it's going to be Mac Jones against the Giants?
It feels like same song, next verse. Every week is okay. Every week they ask him, and he says, "Well, he's just getting better every day. He's getting closer and closer." And well, how close is it? Well, that depends on how it feels. These things are tricky, and it's been happening for 3 weeks now. So, honestly, at this point, I will believe Brock is starting when I see him active on game day. That's when it's going to be.
I agree. I think that's where we have to leave it right now. I thought it was kind of interesting that he was basically like, well, it's up to Brock. I don't know. We'll see. And again, maybe he's just playing games because, teams don't like to divulge who their starting quarterback is going to be. Who knows? But that is interesting. We'll also see which quarterback speaks to the media today. That usually is a good indicator of who's going to start on Sunday. At this point, I'm not expecting Brock. Like you said, until I see 13 under center, I'm just going to assume it's Mac Jones and pray to God it never is Adrian Martinez. Next up, for John Lynch on KNBR. They asked him a pretty simple question. John, are you done making trades?
I'll never say never because we still have some time left on this deadline. But, we're also in a situation. We really kind of had at the end, you sit down and say, okay, what are we looking for? We weren't completely opposed to it, but we'd like for whoever we trade for to be here for more than just the remainder of this year. So you get some opportunity of time working, and then we also want to keep our draft. I think we just saw what we could do with a lot of draft picks. We have that next year as well, and we don't want to eat into that too much. But we also wanted to bolster our team for this year, and we feel like we've done that. We'll also get Huff back at some point here, and I think it can become a good group.
So that to me sounds like he's kind of done. If you're wondering, by the way, the 49ers have, you can see on YouTube, the draft picks. I think it's about 8 picks. Now, a lot of those are projected comp picks that they're going to get back, so we don't know exactly where they're going to fall. Do you think the Niners are done making deals, Johnny?
I would be surprised if they make any more, honestly, just because you're at that point where if you have to continue to pour future draft resources into plug injury holes, which is mainly what these are for this season, there just comes a point where the cost benefit ratio is not there. You're throwing resources into a sinking ship. If you can't keep any players healthy any sort of time this season, then there's no point in trying to add healthy players in. You've got to get it done with who you have now. They did bring in some help, which didn't really cost them any true picks yet, as far as, amount of picks they have. Because they did swap, and they will lose that pick, that 7th, if Keon White, I think he starts 9 games this year. Basically, if he starts every game from here on out, or appears in every game on here out, I think is what it is, then the 49ers won't get that 7th round pick from Patriots. But, it's just, I don't think with the way that they're approaching this, especially when you look at that trade that they made, I don't think there's anybody they're going to go out and get and say, we're going to try and make this year be something. And I don't think that's ever been their approach this season at all. It's been, we got a young crop of guys. Let's see how the season unfolds. We will see if we are in position to really make that over the hump sort of free agent signing or trade this offseason, or if that's going to be in 2027. I think that's their approach.
I agree with you, although I wouldn't mind seeing number 15 get shipped out of town, but that is probably a pipe dream at this point.
I just don't think there's any upside. I don't think teams are going to give more than a 7th for him right now.
I'd be fine with that. I'll take it.
Well, I mean, it's like if you're shipping off a 7th and you don't know when Ricky Pearsall is going to be back. You don't know when Brandon Ayuk's going to be back. If those two guys come back before the trade deadline, which is quickly approaching, if they were to activate Brandon Ayuk's practice window on Monday, then you might see Juwan Jennings shipped off. If Ricky Pearsall is looking like he's going to return to practice on Monday, then you might see Juwan Jennings, open for trade. But if not, I don't see it happening.
One more piece of business before we go. Ouch, my hamstring. YouTube channel member, love the handle, says, just got here. I hope you started off the show with the NFC Special Teams Player of the Month. Kicker update. Congratulations, Eddie Pinheiro, Special Teams Player of the Month. You tend to get that when you don't miss field goals, and you've kicked, 18 of them?
Yeah. I mean, this is bizarro Jake Moody. Look, I will say, and I know people are tired of me talking about this, but I'm going to continue talking about it. This is a perfect example of why you shouldn't just stick with somebody because you think there's other things that might be happening and it can't, it's a long shot that it would get better. You stuck with Jake Moody for longer than you should have. And look, you went and signed a guy off the street and suddenly it's 100 times better. Guess what? Player health and development, it can get better. Quit hanging on to the same things there, hoping that it's just going to magically turn around. Sometimes you do need changes in there. This is like the special teams coordinator. Everybody said, well, you shouldn't, we weren't going to change out the special teams coordinator. And then guess what you do? And that guy says, hey, your kicker's got to go. And you bring in another kicker, and suddenly you have a special teams player of the month.
Kicking is like dating. It is better to give 20 different people a chance than it is to give the wrong person 20 chances. The Niners finally made the change, and where would they be this season without the steady foot, so to speak, of Eddie Pinheiro? All right, we're going to get to the film breakdown in a second, but before we do, just want to give a little love to Sleeper. If you are going to make your picks this year, please, please, please do it with Sleeper. It is super easy. You just pick higher or lower on different stats. They have 1,000 million stats. Any stat you could possibly want, you can pick on Sleeper. And if you're correct, you could win up to 1,000 times payout. How can you not go for winning 1,000 times your money? And by the way, our picks on Fridays have been right 70% of the time. So now's perfect. Hop on board. And if you haven't done so yet, do it now. New users, not even if you deposit, all you got to do is sign up to be a user and you will get a free $20 entry. And if you do want to deposit, make sure you use our code GSP. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. So again, GSP is our code, please. And thank you. Use that. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Now it's time to check out some film, Johnny. And we're going to take a deep dive into the 49ers' new toy, and that being Keion White from the New England Patriots, former second-round pick. Can work inside, can work outside. I'm sure that appealed to the 49ers because we know they like that versatility along the defensive line. I asked you to come up with some clips, and I'm very grateful that you did that for us. I know you are very busy, but what do we got here with Keon White? How excited should we be?
Well, I think it's not unreasonable to feel like he's going to bring a boost. I think it's a little unreasonable to think he's going to be the second coming of Nick Bosa coming in. Now he is a former second round pick. People have been wondering, why was he available? His snaps were dropping, and people immediately say, okay, why were his snaps dropping? Does that mean that he was a player that there's really not a lot of juice there? And I will say this, this has been a player that has been falling out of favor with the Patriots, not just because of on-field stuff. And what it is he was a Belichick guy. And when Gerard Mayo took over last May, he was asked about it, or not last May, but the May before. So May of 2024, he was asked about, how has the offseason been with Gerard Mayo so far? And he publicly said that he missed Belichick style, and that specifically he felt that Gerard Mayo, it was too soft, that the approach with the team was too soft. And he played a lot last year. As December rolled around, he publicly criticized the coaching staff again, and then they made the change over to Mike Vrabel, and it seems that there's either a Robert Kraft in interference here, or Mike Vrabel, has looked at that, who comes from the Belichick system, that you never, ever, ever criticize your coach or the way that the team goes about things, and has been falling out of favor for that. Second, Mike Vrabel is bringing in more of the system that he had in Tennessee. He wants smaller defensive ends, smaller edge guys, like Harold Landry is a perfect example. He drafted him in Tennessee and then brought him into New England this year. That is their prototypical edge profile for Mike Vrabel. It's a smaller guy, more like a Leonard Floyd, smaller guy, twitchier guy. When we are talking about White here, he is a much more of the 49ers edge profile. That is Sam O. I think that's a very clear kind of comp here is Sam O. They like Nick Bosa. They're all 280 to 290. Mykel Williams, 280 to 290. They like that from their ends. They want to have guys who hold up in the edge against the run, and then can also move inside and rush the passer on passing downs. We've done it with Nick Bosa, lined him up inside. We've done it with Mykel Williams, lined him up inside. We've done it in the past with Sam O, lined him up inside. We'll do this with White here. And so, yeah, we're not touching the film from last week. I have a preview or review video on that. Somebody put that in the comments. No film on last week. We're burning that tape. Yep. We got a new toy. So he fits the profile of what the 49ers did. He doesn't fit the profile of what the Patriots have become under Mike Vrabel. That's why he was available for trade. Plus, when he criticizes his the front office and coaching staff there, all those things led to, in August, it was speculated he was going to be traded. And so they kind of have kept him on the shelf a little bit for those reasons. People wonder, why was he available? Because they're going to see some positive tape, and they're going to say, well, why was this guy available then? So I'm just clearing that up. So here you're going to see him in some pass rush. He's lined up outside the tackle, and this is what the 49ers like to do. They come with this wide 9 alignment. They want to run games in here, okay? So when you do this, though, you have to be able to win over the guard. And you're going to see him take a jab step in, and then he's going to come with a swipe and a move inside. And now this is also week 3 against the Jets last year. So this is Robert Saleh saw this front and center. He had a front row seat to this guy playing these positions. This is their game against Saleh's Jets. Saleh had not been fired yet. And you're just going to see a really nice, quick swipe and rip move here. We'll slow it down. I like the footwork. He's got his feet tied to his hands, so he gets his jab step, and then you're going to see him cross over and swipe the hands away. So he's got his feet tied to his movement, and then he's going to pull and rip underneath. So swipe the arm out, rip underneath, and quick pressure on one Aaron Rodgers. So like that.
Oh, God, we don't have anybody that can get quick pressure that's healthy right now. So that is something that they desperately need. Just make a quarterback move, make a quarterback a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so he can win from inside. Here he's going to be lined up. He's outside the tight end, so he's in a wide 9. He's got position versatility. You're going to see him with the first step, the dip and rip, and he's got some nice bend for a guy this size. He's able to take on, this is Mekhi Becton there at left tackle. And I believe it's Mekhi Becton, if I got my names right. You see one, he's got the swipe move to swipe the hand away. So he's, a violent hand to swipe the hand away. And then to rip underneath to dip, and the bend to get around the corner. So to win on these moves, you've got to combine all these elements of the violent hand, the dip, and then the ability to bend and win off the edge. I love it.
I like that he has the versatility to be inside and outside. They need that desperately. And again, he doesn't need to be, like you said, Nick Bosa. Can he be league average? Can he just be league average? Because the Niners are throwing some guys out there that have been worse than that. So even a league average player will be an improvement. And you can't complain about your team getting better.
Right. I mean, this is going to be better than what we trotted out there last Sunday with Travis Gibson and Robert Beal. Like everybody was mad when Travis Gibson got signed. I was like, well, I don't know who you're going to put out there when he got signed off the 49ers practice squad. But I was also like, but it wasn't like he had any sort of production at all last Sunday. I mean, that was the worst pass rushing performance I've seen from the 49ers team. So here, now you're going to see him with the ability to run some of these games. He's going to get in there and they're going to hold up on coverage. And when he does that, he's able to press the pocket. And this in slow motion, this looks like it takes forever for him to get there because it's at half speed. But we'll show it here. The ability to understand where it's at, to move in and keep fighting and get the hit on Aaron Rodgers.
He got a
quarterback Aaron Rodgers.
He got a quarterback hit, which is not something the 49ers defensive line can say last week.
Exactly. In this game against the Jets, he led the Patriots in quarterback hits. So, again, that sticks out to Robert Saleh. In that game, he had 6 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, and that led the Patriots in quarterback hits. And I think he was second on the team in tackles. So, that was Robert Saleh's last interaction with him. So there is, and then we're going to see him now. He's on left edge. So he's moving around. You've seen him on the left side, lined up over the tackle, rushing from the inside. You've seen him on the right side, rushing from wide 9. Now he's on the left side, rushing from wide 9. And you're going to see, again, violent hands. I like his hands. There was a reason that he was picked really high. He's got some of these violent hands to just beat these tackles and guards. He gets in here for a strip sack. I mean, when you can now, again, this is the Bengals offensive line and they're pretty trash. But it's still an NFL offensive line and it's teams quality of players you're going to be playing against. I mean, he just beats the tackle. He sets him up with that speed to power, the violent hands, and able to go get it. You can see the potential was there for that second round pick.
And you could say, oh, it's the Bengals offensive line. Well, the Niners played a terrible offensive line last week and couldn't get there and couldn't do these things. So again, we're talking about improvement. This is better than what the 49ers had. And you mentioned everybody, kind of clutching their pearls about Travis Gibson. It wasn't about losing him specifically. It was literally, we need a human being along the defensive line now. And now not only do they have one, but they have one that at least had the physical tools to be a second round pick and that hopefully can be a valuable piece. You're also putting him with what they are paying Chris Kaserik to be the best defensive line coach in the league. We'll see what he can get out of him. But I think all those things are reasons for optimism, at least.
100%. And you can see here, he's lined up again over the tackle. You have a wide 9 outside of him. This is what we're going to ask him to do a lot. We want to set up some of these outside rushers. We were trying so hard to give Sam O a 2-way go on the tackles because we just couldn't run so much of what we do that it left us open to several draw plays last week. And it was disgusting.
We got burned by that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, we can't rely on that. It's just you're leaving yourself open to other things. Here he's going to be lined up, rush inside. This is a great speed to power, long arm move. So you're going to see him take on the guard. I love this. Oh, long arms the guard. So what do I mean by long arm the guard? That's where you're going to see the extension. He's going to engage with the inside hand, and then he's going to press this shoulder and open this up. So you'll see long arm right there. Bang. Disengage, press the guard off of you, create separation, and then move inside. Love this. Great long arm. Even with getting held, he gets in there, gets a half sack. I mean, he's fighting through getting held. Burrow's getting just clobbered by everybody. I don't know why he ended up hurt. That's weird. But yeah. Anyways,
Can I ask a dumb question?
sure. There are no dumb questions.
Well, two dumb questions. First and foremost, do we think he's going to play this week? He literally got to the facility in the middle of practice yesterday. He had to be listed as limited because he did not arrive until after the practice started. And two, like, how does he have to learn a lot, or can they just throw him in there and say, go get the quarterback?
They'll have basically, they're probably gonna they're gonna keep it fairly simple for him. They're gonna say, like, here's 2 or 3 pass we want you to take for rushing the passer, and then we want you to hold the edge in the run game. That's what they're going to ask right now. You're not going to see a lot of line slants on first and second down if he's out there. I think you're going to see other guys out there more on some base rundowns than him. So I think that's where it's going to be. I mean, because they're going to have Mykel Williams and Sam O most likely as the guys that are base rundowns in about 3/4 of their snaps if Samo can hold up. But there's going to be a lot of coaching on the sideline with Kasurik if he's got to play significant snaps on Sunday. It's not like though he's terribly out of game shape. I mean, he's been playing, but it's just been 25% of the snaps for New England. But I mean, he doesn't have a lot of wear on his body so far. And then we're going to see him here. You're going to see another swipe and rip move inside. So you're going to see the violent hands on the left guard or right guard here, where again, you can see that the violent hands are there. He gets an insta pressure on Joe Burrow. So the swipe and the press, again, violent hands. You see he's able to just move through and then split this double team, and Burrow gets pressured and he immediately has to bail out of the pocket. So he's somebody who can create pressures, can be disruptive, has violent hands, uses his strength and power to win, and use those abilities, and is fleet of feet enough to be able to be used on stunts and twists and stuff.
No one's expecting him to be Nick Bosa, but I don't know how you look at this type of player and get mad about it, considering what they gave up and what they had. This is a no-brainer for the Niners.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's as easy as it gets when you are just depleted as the 49ers are to say, okay, a 6th round pick for this guy. Yeah. And plus somebody who fits our profile. He doesn't fit what the Patriots profile is, of what they want from their edge players now. Because I was watching some of his tape this year and you're seeing him drop into coverage. Okay. He's a 285-pound edge player dropping into coverage. That's what Vrabel wants to do. That's why he wants some of those smaller guys like Landry. He wants to be able to be the speed off the edge and hold up a little bit, but he also wants to be able to drop him into coverage and do things that way. This is not a guy you want dropping into coverage. That's a big reason of why he's not there anymore. And plus and Vrabel wants those really big D tackle types inside. He doesn't want a 285, 290 pound tweener. He wants a big tackle. Remember, this is the guy who played with Vince Wilfork. So he wants to be there and have those big bodies inside, lighter guys on the outside who can drop into coverage and allows them to do other things. So he's a player profile that fits the 49ers, does not fit what the Patriots are doing. And so now I've got some clips of him in the run game. That he also is not just a guy who can get to the passer. He can hold up well in the run game. So here we're going to see him at left edge, and they're going to try and run an outside zone on him. Again, this is the same game that he played against Robert Saleh's team. So they're going to try and run this wide zone on him. They're running exchange inside. So they're having him slant inside, the linebackers taking the outside. So he's going to get in here, and this is the problem he creates, is that he's got fleet enough feet. He's going to beat the right guard to the spot. And so he just works it right through and blows the play up in the backfield immediately. He's right there. Now, you should have some better pursuit. Robert Saleh was probably all over his guys that they didn't have backside pursuit on this. He forces the running back to stop his feet in the backfield. That's exactly what Robert Saleh wants from his defensive lineman against these types of runs. And so, this run nets a decent gain for New York, but that's not on him. That's on everybody else. He wins right inside. He's a good edge defender against the run. Here, you're going to see him on the other side. They're going to come at him with another outside here and just watch him accordion the edge. They're going to try and kick him out, and he just plays with good leverage, keeps his outside arm free, so he's keeping contain, is not letting this get walled all the way out. He's going to then anchor, press the tackle. I love this. Press the tackle once he sees the running back commit, and he's going to disengage and come inside for the tackle. So gets there, gets on it, and gets a good tackle. That is textbook edge run defending from Keion White here. Take on the tackle, free your outside arm. Once the commit, press, disengage, and make the stop.
It's like a non-sexy kind of nondescript play, but it's so important. Like when we sit there and we say, oh, they couldn't stop the run, it's because they weren't doing stuff like this. And I actually think the Niners defense has been better against the run this year, but it can always be better, And so again, yes, please, more of this. We need more guys that can do these things and do them consistently too. That's the other part of it. We need guys that can do that down after down.
Well, and I go back to when you had Dieter on the show in the offseason, and he was talking about Mykel Williams and Alfred Collins in the draft, and how Nick Bosa had opined to him about, we couldn't set an edge on the other side, and that Sam O was a revelation because he was somebody who could actually set an edge. And then during training camp, they talked to Nick Bosa, and he was like, well, it's nice seeing NFL bodies out there. Mm-hmm. This is a guy with an NFL body. Robert Beal holding up on the edge against the run is not a winning proposition. Travis Gibson on the edge holding up against a run is not a winning proposition. You're having Mykel Williams, Sam O, and then Sam O's now banged up. And so they were kind of running Sam O into the ground, him and Mykel. You look at those two guys, a lot of snaps in last week's game. They were trying, and Shanahan talked about that in his presser yesterday, that they were trying to get Mykel out of the game, and they just couldn't. You can't hold up against a run. So you need another NFL body that you can bring in and cycle through that can set an edge. And so here we're going to see the classic play the 49ers struggled with last year. Duo. They're going to try. The Jets are, and this is one of those that I'm sure Robert Saleh got all over Hackett about, but they're trying to run a duo block on White here with a tight end and a wide receiver. That's not a winning proposition. So they're going to try and get these guys on him with a duo block, and it doesn't go well for them. So they're trying to take him on here, watch him disengage, throw the tight end off. Then he's going to brush the wide receiver off and work down the line to squeeze this. So he brushes the one guy off, fights through the other one, and he's just working his way down the line, and he gets in on the tackle. There was no chance of blocking him on this play. He just fights through both of them and goes and makes a stop. That's what you want to see. Sorry, I meant to pause that. I'll run it in real time so we can see it right there on the edge. Just bam, bam, right through and makes a stop. That's the kind of run defense you're hoping for from somebody of this NFL body.
Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but this is all exciting because we've seen what it looks like the opposite direction. And the other part of this too is if he's doing this sort of thing along the defensive line, it's also going to free up Tatum Bethune and D Winters if he plays, and Nick Martin if he is allowed to play football on regular defensive snaps to do the thing that they do best, which is chase and tackle, right? You can keep those linebackers clean and let them use their speed that they have and their run and hit ability to contribute. When you don't get that, we saw last year, like particularly Fred Warner was not kept clean, you minimize their impact. So that's the other job of these defensive linemen.
100%. And two, the last thing I'll say about him is he's got a good motor. You see him running down plays a lot. There was one play in this game early on. He about took his own corner's head off because they threw a quick pass to the left, and he ran in to make the tackle, and the corner tackled the guy right as he was coming in, and he just blasted his own corner. But he's running to the ball. He's running down, trying to make plays. You're going to see they're going to run a wide receiver screen here. Watch his effort to go run this play down. He's going to see it. Oh, he's like, okay, they beat it, and he runs down and makes the tackle. He's playing from an interior rush position. He is starting as a 3 technique, and he's going to run this wide receiver screen down. That's a great motor. That's fits what the 49ers want to do. All gas, no brakes.
And I think, too, that getting traded, I think, gives you a little extra motivation, a little juice, right? Number one, you want to say, oh, all right, Patriots, you made me a healthy scratch last week. You clearly didn't want me. You gave up, you got basically nothing for me. Now I'm going to a team that wants me, a team that thinks I'm good. I'm going to show the team, number one, the Niners, that they were right, and I'm going to show the Patriots that they were wrong. And that can't be a bad thing either.
No, it can't at all. And especially being traded from a team at that point that was winning, that wasn't like they were just completely dumping assets, but they're still, the Patriots have been a surprise winning team. Mm-hmm. Their strategy going into this season was I don't think they were expecting to be 6-2. I think if you told them at the beginning of the year that they were going to be 6-2, I mean, they were bad last year. They were really bad. And this is Mike Vrabel's first year there. Like they were a bad team last year. I don't think they expected this. And they've been undergoing a roster reconstruction to mold them into the kind of team that Mike Vrabel wants. And to do that, you need lots of draft assets and guys that don't fit your scheme fits and your player profile fits. Because, I mean, they're going to have write-ups on all these positions. 49ers have it for linebackers. You can see their linebacker profile type when you look at the height, weight of and running speed of guys like Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shaair, D. Winters. They are all almost the exact same height, weight, exact same abilities in I think their 20-yard split is all about the same. They have that as a player profile type. Nick Martin is very similar. He's a little bit undersized, but he's similar player profile. They have an edge profile, that Nick Bosa size, length. That's what Sam O is. That's what Nick Bosa is. That's what Mykel Williams. He's even a little bit taller. They love length, and they love that 280 to 290. That's what Eric Armstead was. They love that from their edge players. And so he fits our profile, doesn't fit theirs, became expendable, and they are trying to stockpile picks for the future to reshape their roster into the player profiles that Mike Vrabel wants. He became expendable, but he shows violent hands in the pass rush game, quick feet, strong edge setter against the run, and has a great motor. I love, all those attributes. I say for a 6th round pick, give it to me every day of the week.
And look, I'm not saying they're going to be at the same level or anything close to it, but we saw with Bryce Huff, he did nothing with the Eagles last year, and he has been a significant factor for the 49ers this year. He closed out one game for them, so what you do in one place doesn't necessarily prove what you can do in another place. New system, new team, new coaches, all that stuff, and we will see if Keon White can be more than he was in New England. And hopefully he can. I really hope we get one more trade. I want like one more, just even a move, something.
I think the Cleveland Farrell signing is an interesting one because, he was the guy that was brought in to replace the Arden Key and Charles Omenihu role, and ended up having to take a bunch of base down snaps because they couldn't hold an edge opposite Nick Bosa. And he was the guy who ended up being best at that. So I do wonder if they're bringing him back in to say, okay, Yetur Gross-Matos, we can't rely on him necessarily because he's already had the knee issue and now he's dealing with the hamstring. We need, and seeing how much that drops off after he's left, we need somebody who can fit that role. And that's what we originally envisioned Cleveland Farrell for. So they're going to bring him back in. Heineman, I don't appreciate the O-line profile of the early 2000s Toyota. I used to have a 2000 Toyota Tundra, and that was one of the greatest vehicles I ever owned. That is an offense to Toyota. But yeah. Anyways,
Well, and I talked about this.
it did make me laugh though.
You're not. Thank you, Hyman. We love a Twitch fam. You're not going to have stars at every position, but like if you can raise your floor, there's value in that. And that's what I think this move. And I don't know that there are any 49er fans that are like, oh, Keon White's going to fix everything. Nobody thinks that. But it's okay to raise the floor too. And God knows this team could use it because some of the floors, like you said, Robert Beal, that's a low floor.
Yeah, and I mean they're struggling with some things in coverage, and they need some help covering some of that up while these young guys are learning things. Renardo Green, I don't know if it's the 3 weeks he missed in training camp, but there's been a lot of mental errors. He's struggling. I think they changed the divider rules from last year, which divider rule is just at a point at which it's going to change how you play coverage and exactly what you do. We play a lot of matching on the outside, and after a number 2 receiver's outside of a certain point, your role is going to change from match to a zone drop. And he seems to be that, and change of strength is really messing with him. He's struggling getting the communication between him and the safeties, because the safeties have been in and out, and him and Upton Stout and Jair Brown and Upton Stout, like all those guys are working through some communication stuff. It's clearly, there's clear frustration on the back end. Like I showed it on X. It was one of our zone dogs that we brought the Texans. It was like 3rd and 11. They blocked it up well. Stroud throws a 4-yard slant on 3rd and 11, and they get a first down. Jair Brown comes in, misses the tackle. You have but before that play, you could see Winters and Stout and Jair Brown sitting there trying to turn around. And at one point, like Jair Brown's trying to point something out to Stout, and he throws his arm like this is that, and just you could see frustration. And this was early in the game. Like the secondary has frustration with each other and trying to figure out exactly what's being communicated, exact rules. And Renardo Green's one of those. He missed 3 weeks of training camp with a pulled hammy. And that's when you're going to be installing a lot of that stuff. I think they've changed it from last year. I don't know the exact divider rules that they have. I haven't gone through and notated out. It's really laborious to do that. But yeah.
But like, and I've heard Kyle and people talk about this, so this isn't, me calling you out or anything, but like I've heard that before. Oh, well, he was injured in training camp. Well, I'm sorry, man. The whole season can't hinge on whether you were healthy for 3 weeks in July. Like practice is 2 hours a day, whatever it is. The other time in the day, you can be meeting with coaches or meeting with other players to figure out what you missed and what you don't know. Like it can't just be, oh, he was hurt in training camp, so we're going to have communication issues all year. And you're right. We saw it all throughout that Houston game. There was one play where Upton Stout is blitzing and he's pointing to Jair Brown. Hey, you got this guy in front of me. And Jair Brown, I don't know if he missed it or what, but he never comes up to the line of scrimmage. And his guy just runs like a quick 4-yard out, catches the ball for an easy first down on 3rd down. Like, I don't care if you were hurt in training camp. That's not an excuse anymore. It's week 9. If you don't know your stuff, it's on you and it's on Robert Saleh and the other defensive coaches. It is. It has to be.
Well, and I guess my only pushback would be, some of those, especially when it comes to divider rules, it's going to be like if we're on the far hash, if the ball's on the far hash and they come 3 yards outside of the formation, then I'm going to go from match man to deep third drop sort of a thing. That takes a while for everybody on that side to recognize exactly where 3 yards is, because it's not notated out on the field. Sometimes they'll say, okay, it'll be, a yard inside the hash or a yard outside the hash or 5 feet inside the numbers. Like they have markers on there. And so you got to run the reps over and over and over again to identify it. And it just seems like he's playing slow. Like he's just, and it could be that he had a strong rookie year. We've seen this with corners. They have a strong rookie year and then they just go, okay, I'm good. I've understood everything. And then this system change happens and they're missing these details and having a lot of mental errors. And suddenly they become almost unplayable. We saw it with Ahkello Witherspoon in 2019. He started out 2019 really well, got hurt. Emmanuel Mosley came in, played strong. Then Emmanuel Mosley got hurt. We put Ahkello Witherspoon back in. If you remember against the Saints game, he got just dominated that Saints game. I think he gave up 2 or 3 touchdowns. That was the big shootout game, 45-42, with Kittle dragging guys down at the end. Ahkello Witherspoon is getting abused that game and then was lost ever since. And it took him years to rebound. It wasn't until he got to the Rams like 3 years later that he started to rebound his career. And even then, we were licking our chops every time, right? We were like, oh, yeah, they're going to get after Ahkello Witherspoon. But we forget at the start of that season, he was playing phenomenal.
Yeah.
We saw it with Ambry Thomas, the way he finished 2021. Everyone was like, this is the guy. Diamador Lenore, who they played at the beginning of the year, he just couldn't cut it anymore. He got benched. Ambry Thomas came in, played strong. And then it came to the next year. All of a sudden, Ambry Thomas is like 5th on the depth chart. And everyone's going, well, what happened? And Kyle Shanahan was like, well, it wasn't as much that he took a step back. Other guys just kind of leapfrogged him. But it was clear that he sat there and went, I got this. I've arrived. And he became almost unplayable. I remember it was the game against the Steelers in 2023, week 1. He got absolutely abused at the 2-minute drill. We were up, what was it, like 16 or 18 points there right before the half. It was looking like we were just going to run away with the game. And all of a sudden, we had been shutting out the Steelers at that point. And in the 2-minute drill, they went after Ambry Thomas 4 times on the drive, went right down and scored a touchdown. And suddenly it became a game where you're like, okay, we're going to be sitting our guys at the start of the 4th to, oh, gosh, now we got a game. Because they went after Ambry Thomas because he came in for injury. So, like, we've seen this before, and I just hope that Renardo Green is on the trend that it goes in the right way, where it says, okay, I have got to be on my details. We have got to put in some extra time as a secondary unit to go over every single one of these things. We've got to go out on the field and line things up and simulate how they're going to move outside of practice so that we can be on it of, okay, when this happens, we communicate. We can't rely on Fred Warner to help relay all this communication. We have got to remember how to figure out how to do these things. That is my weird brain, Niner faithful. Like, that is just my weird brain, how I remember this stuff.
Niner faithful. Johnny Dell is like Rain Man with these plays he's remembering from years ago. But like stuff like that does matter though, right? Because if the Niners were able to run the score up a little bit in that game, then you can rest those guys in the 4th quarter. And guess what? Then they don't get hurt. Or maybe they don't get hurt 2 games from now because they have less wear and tear in their body. So it's all connected. It's all frustrating at times for me with this defense. And we'll see. Again, go out this week against the Giants. You win this game. You are 6-3. 6-3. In a great spot for you.
Yeah.
You lose this game, and then all of a sudden you're 5-4. And then now you're in a whole different place. And so handle your business against the Giants. It's not going to be easy. I think Jackson Dart's pretty good. I think his mobility is going to give the Niners some problems. I don't care, man. You have to win this. If you're anything this season, you have to win this game. And we will see if they do. If you want more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, their job got easier because Cam Skatteboo's not going to be out there. Cam Skatteboo was on his way to being Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think. And I think it was going to be a runaway, no pun intended. Unfortunately, he had an even worse version of the same injury that Fred Warner had because there was some ligament damage in there. His honestly kind of reminded you of Garrison Hurst in 98.
Oh, not that. I mean, that ended Hurst's career.
Well, I mean, Hurst did come back in the early 2000s, and he was sharing time with Kevin Barlow, or Kevon Barlow, as his name was. When they were trying to do that 2-back set, Garrison Hurst was the guy, but they were trying to replace him with Kevon Barlow, who everyone thought he was going to be all-world, 1,000-yard receivers, like 230 pounds, 6'1", and then Frank Gore came along and completely wiped him off the map later. Garrison Hurst, he had a couple good seasons there, but it took him a long time to recover from that. I don't think it's quite as bad because Garrison's, I think, was broken in 3 places, and his was broken in 2, I think.
Yeah, Hurst missed all of 99 and all of 2000. He had the avascular necrosis, which is, when your bone starts to die, which is, a little scary, not just for your football career, but for your life career. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm
Well,
saying.
yeah, that's why Scadaboo went into surgery that night. They've learned from these things. Like, you have got to get in there, because when those injuries happen right against the blood vessel, like, you've got to get blood flow back to those parts of the body, or else that happens.
Yeah, and that's a very scary thing. And hopefully he can recover, because I agree he was looking phenomenal. And I know what you mean when you say like it's going to be easier for the not. Obviously, you're not saying good job that
Right.
Scadaboo was hurt. No one is saying that. Just
Right.
to be expressly clear. But no Malik Neighbors out there. Obviously, like, this Giant game looks a lot different than it could have looked at the beginning of the season. If you want more film breakdown, check out the Johnny Dale Football Academy on YouTube. I promise you, there's more film there than you could ever watch. Please watch, please contribute, help Johnny's channel out whenever you can. Like this video, subscribe to the channel as well. We'll have the NFC West mixtape we'll be posting on the audio side, and then I will eventually get it up on the YouTube channel later today as well. So lots going on still. Fingers crossed for another trade. Johnny, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Always good, Rob.